Hey guys, it's Mecha-san here. I want to say the timing of this video is coincidental here, but lately they've been releasing a couple of top 10 related Watch Assassin's Creed videos. But yeah, it's Mojo Plays top 10 times Assassin's Creed contradicted its own lore. Yeah, currently, even though I'm taking a break from live streaming video games, stuff like that, focus on these, reaction videos, I am currently playing some stuff here, getting out of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I started too much. Just getting through some of the later add-on quests and such that I will not be streaming for. Get out of the way. But yeah. So, I feel like doing this video here, and contradicting its own lore. That happened, unfortunately. I mean, not just because this game has gone on by this point this long, almost 20 years. I mean, there's been games that went on for far longer, and more or less try to stay tight, or comic books have contradicted themselves more often than not here, and had to do the whole reset button. But it's also because Ubisoft essentially trying to be like the worst gaming companies out there, and in some ways matching them and even exceeding them. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Between a falling out with the actors, the writers, and directors, and just deciding to follow the latest fads and trends, and just changing the game entirely to something else that it should have no right being. Yeah. It's no surprise that they contradict themselves. They have to retcon and everything, and just
Your DNA communes with the apple. You have activated it.
Yep.
Welcome to Mojo Plays, and today we're looking at times Assassin's Creed games went against their established lore.
Are you wearing one of my father's suits?
Are you wearing a dress?
Don't even start. I feel like a mummy wrap.
Yeah. Sorry, just that this scene of Unity here, it's good, and I did read the book AC Unity, which is the in-universe journal of Elise de la Serre, so I know her story, stuff like that.
Wrapped up in this thing.
Must be quite an occasion to get you so.
As well as what happened to Arno, like after that here. There's a bit of time between Elise's death and killing Germain to eventually rejoining the Order, and I guess even going to the Dead King's DLC. Honestly, just seeing the life these guys had, like, all the way up to their twilight years, to the end, like, give us something like with Ezio. We saw him at the beginning, and we saw him at the end. With Embers. We want some of these characters, the characters we played here. We've seen Altair. We even got that with Altair here. If you've read the Secret Crusade, you saw the beginning and everything. He was born to the Order and such. And from Revelations, we saw how his time came to an end. We even know how Edward Kenway's time came to an end. So, yeah, like, show us Connor. Show us this guy here. Apparently he was still active even, like, I don't know, during the 60s or 80s? Ooh, I got questions, but yes!
Like that.
Before we begin, we publish new content all week
And
long.
now,
So,
sorry,
be sure to
just
subscribe
reminder.
and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
The Isu Vaults.
Alright, I'll be curious to see how this contradicts them, because a lot of the vaults, well, the ones that we saw in like the main trilogy were all intended for the solutions to save the world. Those were the dedicated. That's the ones we focused on. But there are other vaults around, other not just, and it weren't even vaults here, just sites. Isu structure that survived to that point.
The Templars and the Assassins spend their time fighting over various Isu artifacts, and sometimes trying to find the locations of Isu buildings.
Yep.
Accessing the Grand Temple is the main plot thread of Assassin's Creed 3, after all.
Yes, the Grand Temple, which was the main facility in which the Triumvirate were working on solutions to save everything. It's like that was the main temple, along with I guess seven other scientific sites here buried underground. These things were not buried underground; they were on the surface, and they managed to survive. This one here,
particularly in the Mythology trilogy, we see vast Isu ruins just out in the open. Especially the complex Medusa lives in on Lesbos. This begs the question, how the hell did both the factions lose the locations of these places?
Dude, it's... look at the time period here! Valhalla, it's set like, 500 BC? This is set like 40 BC. And keep in mind, both areas are prone to earthquakes. Like how many Greece with tons of earthquakes, and of course Egypt here. We know the famous earthquake that sadly knocked out the white limestone off the pyramids, and with the sandstorm and stuff like that. To say that eventually time and nature erased all these vaults from existence, I believe it. So this one here is a weak listing here. Very weak here. Not just that as well, but a lot of times these things get destroyed by mankind. Hell, the observatory from Black Flag. Modern day Templars went to find it. They did find a location, but it was destroyed because the Templars, the Assassin at the time, destroyed it here, and there's no records to be had at this place. Also records. Oh, this is far back here. Records get destroyed, get lost in time here, burned or etched away, stuff like that.
Bayek and Aya created the Brotherhood, but did they not leave a record anywhere of the enormous Isu ruin in the middle of the desert?
Possibly. They probably did, but they were destroyed. Wasn't it? I mean, during the whole Hidden Ones DLC, one of their bureaus was burned to the ground here. Any knowledge, any data, any passage of information about whatever was lost there because they don't really do copies.
For instance, Ezio 2 apparently wrote nothing down because they needed to use the Animus to find the vault underneath the Roman Colosseum that he'd already visited.
Yeah, of course he wrote. Of course he didn't write things down here. It's like to write information down could possibly leak it to the Templars. There are traitors in the Assassin. No, William Miles even mentions that it's far more likely that we have assassin defectors go joining the Templars than the other way around. You're not gonna keep this information here, so some of the things will let them be lost and forgotten to time here, but. It's not like Ezio could have predicted, yeah, we'll eventually have this device that allows us to live out genetic memory, our ancestral memory, so we'll know where the location was and everything.
It's just confusing when you think about it.
No, not really. Not confusing at all. Not at all. This is one. Okay, so you're starting out very weak here.
The Cult of Cosmos.
So, you've seen it too then.
Yeah,
It's beautiful, isn't it?
The story behind Cosmos is all over the place. First, we have no idea who Cosmos is at all. Whether this is just a name pulled out of thin air, or whether it correlates to an Isu.
Likely here. I mean, given that altar is clearly Isu.
Descended from the Cult of Hermes, who was an Isu. Yeah,
Hermes, he had the staff of Hermes, and then he passed it down to his like apprentice or something like that.
But they got tired of him and went their own way. It's also completely distinct from the Order of the Ancients.
Yeah.
Where both groups, inexplicably, really wanted Xerxes to take control of Greece.
I know that there is a note you can find in Odyssey after you, play the Legacy of the First Blade here, which shows that the Cult of Cosmos and the Order of the Ancients, they've had communication with each other, but don't recall that part. No, it's not at all unusual for several independent factions to have come together around surviving Isu technology.
As well as that,
Especially if this was all planned out by the Isu, who are looking through time and everything like that, trying to make sure everything flows a certain way to get to 2012.
never explained why the cult is so intent on keeping the war going or what its overall aim is. Aspasia says that it wants to control the war to one day unify Greece, encouraging democracy. But the
Democracy of this time period? I don't know.
cult has lost its way so thoroughly that Aspasia manipulates Cassandra into killing all of its members.
Yeah,
Couldn't have done this.
it's one of those things where noble goal, but along the way you forgot.
Without you, Cassandra. You're doing the right thing. I always try to do what's right. Then we're after the same thing.
Eve.
Okay, yeah.
We really thought the Adam and Eve storyline would be much more important after seeing that video
Yeah,
at the end of
the
Assassin's
truth.
Creed 2, but that wasn't the case. She didn't really reappear as a figure until Liberation,
Yeah.
when Aveline used the disc she'd been collecting to see glimpses of Eve's time, leading the human rebellion that overthrew Isu rule. Many think that Ubisoft keeps hinting that Adam and Eve will become important again, with some even thinking that Evie Fry was somehow related to her, but it just hasn't come up.
We know that, Daniel Clay. Daniel Clay was actually a direct descendant of Adam and Eve. But yeah, the Eve storyline, find Eve, I remember that. Find Eve, and like Liberation just gave us, it was a recording of the day that the human resistance, stuff like that, voted for Eve to be their leader. Makes me wonder though, what was Adam then? Okay, yeah, Eve was the leader, cool. What, does Adam, the second in command? Oh man, so much you could do there. And now there's a whole thing where it could be that Layla was Eve because now she's in the Valhalla simulator and running through all of the time, everything like that, helping Desmond, who is the Adam. I don't know, but yeah, they this is one of the storylines where they dropped it after some of the writers-directors, like key writers-directors, just left.
It's a shame because who wouldn't want a game tying up those loose ends?
I've had this idea in my head, I just gotta say this right now, that, like, it just popped in my head, and that the Netflix project they're doing here, at least one of those, will be about fleshing out the Isu. Like, pulling back, just ripping off all the mysticism that we have been forced to see them through the eyes of, like, Cassandra, Eivor, and such, and see the real deal. See what really happened. See how the myth was thing here, but see how the truth actually is. Because I want that. If it's nothing like, oh, I prefer the whole mysticism stuff like that, the mystery. I want it removed here. If it's I'm not gonna be disappointed if it's disappointing, because frankly, the real thing is never gonna live up to what we have spent years upon years imagining, building up layer after layer after layer. I just want a truth. The truth.
Look out!
Connor and the colonies.
Yes!
You're the traitor.
Yes! We don't know what happened. Okay, supposedly Connor. Yeah, we know a bit about Connor. Yeah, we see a comic book. He did indeed marry a native, had 3 kids. His youngest one, his daughter, has the gift, has eagle vision. In fact, she has the rare, at this point, very rare ability to actually like link up to an eagle. So yeah, that gift eventually just faded as the bloodline got thinner and thinner and thinner throughout the years. We also know that he trained a Haitian to be an assassin, lead the rebellion, lead the revolution there. Plus, we know the Assassins of the Templars are still going on. Hell, by the time of the Civil War, it's very much teased that Avalyn's grandson, who's old man by this point, is the master. It's the Grand Master of the American Brotherhood. And Shay here, we know for a fact he had 2 kids. He had a life. He eventually never left the Templars. He got married, had a son, and then a grandson, and he trained them both in assassin hunters.
Huge mess. A consequence of Ubisoft going back to add the story of Rogue as a prequel to Assassin's Creed 3.
Yes. Like, they even mention in game here how Haytham's journal make no mention of Shay Cormac here, and having read Forsaken, and the way the journals are all like line up here, I can easily see them. It's very easy to slip in like a lost volume, because the book is set up in a way that it's like volumes of a small book autobiography, like volumes 1, 2, and 3. So you can actually have it. You can actually have it so it's a lost a volume that was lost somewhere in time or whatever that they could find, and voila, fill in the blanks.
Firstly, it's unusual that Connor never mentions Shay at all. Nor does Shay come back when Connor starts systematically murdering every single Templar.
Yeah, Shay was trying to find the precursor box. That was his mission. And he should eventually come back here. I believe he inherited some land in Virginia that was Haytham's, something like that, or maybe that was Connor. But also, yeah, shouldn't have Achilles kept like a journal himself here, stuff and such that could mention Shay, and so much.
Again, this is forgivable since Rogue was written later.
Yeah. I mean, again, what I mentioned about finding the book, it's plausible as well. That could happen. I mean, heck, look at it. Ezio learned about the vault under Masyaf Castle, Altair's vault, via a letter that he found of his father written a year before his birth.
But Connor is also mentioned in Rogue itself, with Charles Dorian gloating to Shay as he dies that Connor has already taken the Americas back to the Brotherhood.
And even then, it's like, really? I mean, this was 1774 here, like, something like that. The Declaration of Independence hasn't been signed at this point, I believe, and it was still anyone's game, more or less, but I guess, yeah, enough?
Except, Shay assassinates Charles in 1776.
Yeah.
Connor was active at this time,
Yeah.
but he hadn't finished the Templars off. Haytham didn't die until 1781, and Charles Lee not until 1782.
Yeah.
Years after this happens. Charles really has nothing to brag about.
I mean, is it because we have the Templars we've already killed? Then, yeah, Rogue then introduced other, like, Templar agents, other Templars here, like, what happened to them? I mean, one of those guys, the black man with those glasses, his name is in the history books here. He's got, like, an entire small neighborhood, an area, like, named after him today, and so, yeah. So like, I guess one would say, like, yeah, he made it so the colonies will not fall under British rule. Now, will be, like, they'll fight off. I don't know, fight a British rule or something. It's confusing.
The father of understanding.
Okay, this one, and that's what I'm curious.
Did you find it then?
This mysterious figure was regularly invoked by the Templars as part of their mantra. But just who is he? From what we know, the title
we know.
came from the Isu, and was at one point held by Jupiter. Though we don't know the requirements needed for someone to be granted it. It later attained godlike reverence, with the Templars practically worshipping the Father of Understanding. And then they went and revealed that Julius Caesar was the Father of Understanding.
Yeah, that
Though
scene, yeah.
it's still not clear whether the later Templars knew that Caesar had claimed the title, and whether they ended up worshipping his memory centuries later, or if it's all still about the title itself.
May the Father of Understanding guide us.
Oh yeah, that was a big scene. For this one here, it's actually quite easy. Like, yeah, what's the whole point here and everything like that, and the reveal that Jupiter, Tenia, that was his title. Basically, it's a misunderstanding. The title Father of Understanding is a scientific title. Something because it's probably denoting Jupiter as pretty high up there in the scientific community of the Isu. Like in fact, Jupiter, Minerva and Juno had their own, like the mother of something and the sister. I forgot. I don't remember those here, but again, scientific. It could be that the Templars or Proto-Templars, I likely discovered this title here and not understanding its significance, the context, and the fact that it's in past here, took it as more of a more ideological religious significance here, and it just stuck. Just something that they never corrected here, and possibly even that Julius Caesar was mistook. They mistook what they're saying as him being father of understanding, such like that. So again, the whole thing is that one word. It's a misunderstanding. That's all. That's the entire thing. They misunderstood that way back when, and it's still carried over today here. For all we know, they could have figured that out. They could have finally figured out in the modern day what it really was, but at this point in time, it just becomes like part of their mantra and such. So it's much like how a lot of people who are even still atheists, stuff like that, still say, "Oh God."
Unity's British accents.
King no punishment is too heinous for the great evil you have inflicted upon the temple.
There was some controversy over Altair's American accent during the first game, which was quickly altered by the time he turned up in Revelation.
Yeah.
Since then, AC protagonists have had the accents of the place they're from, with the exception of Unity, in which the French characters all have British accents. This was despite the cast themselves not being British and mainly being French-Canadian. The explanation for this is that the Animus was translating everything, but this is the only game in the franchise where the characters have the wrong accent.
Yes, the Animus does translate important dialogue here, so it's something that in the first game, when you're out of the Animus and talk to Lucy there, he didn't point that out here. Why does everyone sound like they're from the future? The present, like they talk like modern English. It's like, yeah, it translates. The Animus translates to modern language. Otherwise, we would not be able to. We would not understand him. Even people, even in this scene here, people who actually speak French, they likely won't be able to understand what they're saying in Unity here because they're speaking 18th century French. Now, I could be wrong here. If I got any French speakers here on the chat here, people who are French, tell me, is modern French really not at all dissimilar to 18th century France? But yeah, this, actually have no problem with this. I chalked this up to simple gameplay. In universe, I can picture in my head that yes, they are speaking with the appropriate accents, just in universe.
So, did Unity use a completely different type of animus to the other games? The real-world explanation for this was that Ubisoft claimed people were used to hearing British accents in period pieces, which is again bizarre.
Yeah,
since all the games are period pieces.
But bringing Monsieur de la Serre's killer to justice would count for something, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would.
I mean, some make sense here, like how King Richard in the first game, he had a bit of a French accent, even though he's English. But this actually makes sense because, yeah, he was born in England, but he's educated, spent most of his time in France, so he picked up the accent. Here, it's like,
But do not confuse your personal vendetta with a sound strategy.
The Grey.
To replicate
Oh.
the scale, the size of a world. We lack the energy to make it so.
The Grey,
We
yeah.
understood the Grey when its concept was developed in Black Flag.
Yeah.
It's a digital realm where Juno's consciousness, at least, has been living for.
Yeah, cyberspace, basically. It's cyberspace. It's the world of fucking Reboot. But
It seems like a pretty difficult process for an Isu to put their consciousness in there.
no, that proved easy to do. Getting out, that was a challenge.
For a while, Juno was the only one who'd managed it. We later found out that the Aesir had a supercomputer designed to keep them in a virtual afterlife. But the Basim, aka Loki, has been trapped in the Grey. What does this mean for the reader, though?
So yeah, this would be the Grey. Unless, yeah, they do need to flesh this out here, because I also assume, like, I assume, rightfully so, that Desmond would be in the Grey, and the reader is Desmond. He is. He was brought into the Grey as well. So, I guess, where is... Let me guess. I'm assuming Ubisoft forgot about Daniel Clay, Subject 16. Like, in his final moments, he essentially made a copy. That's all. What are we with some of our memories? That's him essentially putting himself like a copy of his mind into Desmond before releasing him. So, he found a way to get out of the guts of the animus he was in and hitch a ride with Desmond. So he's basically been in the back burner, basically. And like the trunk or whatever. It should be out here. At least this situation here with what the Aesir did. It's their own separate project from what Juno. It's like they took the solution, Juno's solution, and just kept going with it.
The reader is what remains of Desmond Miles after his death in AC3. But it's not clear how his sacrifice actually landed him here. Is it hard to get into the Grey, or can it just happen by accident?
The machine is powered down, but the rate by my calculations, you have 73 seconds before...
I'm not worried. I have the Staff of Eden.
No.
What?
Eagle
You
vision.
dropped it. Yeah, you dropped it. Again, this is another thing here, because now they're playing with the solutions that the three triumvirates have been trying to make here. Each one not working. There was the tower to take the sun in, which only one was built, and that's the one Valhalla has been playing with. Yeah, the one Valhalla has been playing. Sorry, I'm trying to catch myself here. This is going to be a long video. Yeah, that's the one Valhalla is currently playing with here, with how one tower was built. Apparently, it was built in the land of the Aesir or something they control. And soon, yeah, it looks like Odin and his group of Isu, were interested and just took copies and make it their own. An eagle vision here.
We know that Eagle Vision changes because game design trends change, but lore-wise, this only generates inconsistency. Eagle Vision is intended to represent the supernatural sixth sense that many assassins have, a consequence of their higher proportion of Isu DNA.
Yes.
Technically, the sense is knowledge, which is why it gives you additional information. But in Origins, Eagle Vision was ditched in favor of an actual eagle flying around.
Yeah.
By the time of Valhalla, it wasn't an eagle at all. It was a raven. While Eivor did still have the Odin Sight ability as well.
But
in Shadows, it's looking like the bird mechanic is gone completely, replaced with another iteration of detective mode.
Which I'm okay with Shadows. It gets rid of that here because, again, a lot of the Isu DNA has, well, been diluted. It's gone thinner and thinner. Eivor had the advantage of the fact that she was she was essentially the reborn Odin. So she had a far higher concentration, probably the same level of concentration that Cassandra, or more likely, Bayek had. So the fact that she can attune to a raven, yeah.
The apple on the moon.
Okay, we know this one. How is this contradicting?
Before the Great Catastrophe, one of the main Isu plans to avert it and
one of the many
was to put a dozen apples of Eden into the sky to control humanity, making them imagine the threat of the solar flare away and defend the Earth. This alone makes almost no sense. But one of those apples ends up on the moon.
Actually, it does. It does here. They established, like, when enough humans believe in such a premise of the apple, they will things to existence. Like, basically, hack it, make solid holograms, stuff like that here become more realistic. It's like, we saw this here when Altair in Revelation, the flashback, Altair used the apples to have, like, assassins literally air assassinate from the sky here. Like, these are illusions made physical. Hologram made physical and just bang. We saw the extreme version of this in the Curse of the Pharaohs DLC for Origins, where the ancient pharaohs came to life here, and we could actually enter like a recreation of the various afterlives of Egypt, the Duat and everything, the feudal reeds, you name it here. These were all like made manifest by the Apple of Eden because of all of the accumulated belief in it. In the end, they were essentially like holodecks. It's essentially think Star Trek holodeck technology, but without the need of a special room.
The Templars later manipulate JFK into launching the Apollo program, which is all so that they can go to the moon and get this apple.
Yeah, like that apple. The problem was the Isu could not maintain it across a globe, and so got lost, and one of the ones that sent to space ended up on the moon.
But if you know anything about outer space, you know that the moon is very far away. In fact, when the moon is at its furthest from Earth, all the other planets could fit in a line in the space between. Putting something on the moon on purpose is hard enough, even for the Isu. But apparently, putting something there by mistake is easy.
Yeah, that's kind of how it works. Like they weren't intending it. They weren't intending an apple to be on the moon here. It just after the operation failed, it kind of blew up. It just so happens one of the apples they sent up there landed on the moon. Simple as that. It's like when you try to do something, you never succeed. But when you're not even trying, when it's an accident, voila. Don't you hate fate like that?
Lucy's betrayal.
Yeah.
I can't move.
This one was strictly because of the falling out that they had with the actress.
One contradiction after another. Though it was eventually explained in a DLC for Revelations that Lucy Stillman had become disillusioned with the Assassins and was working with the Templars, it's still hard to believe.
Yeah.
She'd already infiltrated Abstergo as a double agent and then killed no small number of them while busting Desmond out. So for her to have switched allegiances for good, fans just didn't want to believe it.
Yeah, though, granted, Templars are not above just more casually sacrificing their own people, especially the low-rung people, if it meant the greater good, meant for the greater goal.
But if the rumors are true, all of this came out of a behind-the-scenes dispute with Kristen Bell,
Yep.
who played Lucy, and they resolved it by killing her off. Though there's no real evidence for this either. If it isn't true, and somebody at Ubisoft decided that killing Lucy was the best thing for the plot, they made a very bad call.
Yeah.
There's a problem. This is the specific...
Sadly, at this point, I'd believe it was indeed a dispute. His other solution, like the latter, I could actually believe that today. But this happened way ago here, so...
Let us know in the comments any plot inconsistencies you've noticed.
So, yep. Yeah, I was gonna bring up the Stillman here. Yeah, the whole thing was that Lucy was not entirely indoctrinated by the assassins. Just enough of sway to not make her stand out, because apparently the Templars are quite good at fishing out assassin moles. They still found out here, and in the end, just indoctrinated her. It's a whole comic here, and I'm not excusing that here. I'm just pointing it out, and I don't like it. It's just, yeah. So some of these I agree with. Others, like, nah, dude. Nah, like the Isu sites. That's explained here. Like, the sites that were dedicated to dealing with the solar flare, that has been, yeah, those are what the Desmond trilogy focused on. That's been underground. But the other sites here, like the sites we saw in Greece, in Egypt, those are the sites that managed to survive, but clearly in their time, but did not make it to the present day, because nature and human attacks probably destroyed them all. Likely destroyed them all. Even the temple underneath the Colosseum, that was a temple meant for the solutions. So yeah, it was hidden here, and Ezio knew, like, don't keep a record of this place here. It's got to be a secret. It's not for us to find. Better, yeah. But boy, oh boy, yeah. Others, like, yeah. Others, I'm like, who cares? Like, the accent, like, meh. Man, like, I chalk it up to, at least in universe, it is the proper accent here, but for us, I would have loved them to have gone that extra mile. Stick to the details here where they have the right accents, but yeah. And the father of understanding one here, really, dude, like, it's a misunderstanding. They did not understand. They misunderstood what that title meant at the time when the Templars or Pearl Templars discovered it. Yeah, the Grey, Eve, I have to agree. They need to, like, flesh that out here. The supposedly upcoming Netflix projects, correct yourself here. Try to make it make sense. At the very least, yeah, like, and again, fixing the whole, like, Shay here, just have it so, I don't know, they find a lost volume of Hatham's journals that has Shay. There you go. Yeah, well. So everyone, thanks for watching. Whew, long video. As always, comment down below what you all thought. Like to hear more videos. Till next one, this is Mecha-san, logging out.